from the first day, when I went into the locker room and my locker was next to his, I was like, oh, shit. I got to just be quiet the whole year and just listen. And, he took me in like one of his kids. And I didn't really look at him as like, oh, I'm throwing this future Hall of Famer. He was my teammate. He was probably the hardest working guy on the team at 40 some odd years old. And he was just an unbelievable example to all of us.
The one time that I realized, I was like, oh, wow. I remember going into my windup, okay? And as I start my windup, Pudge moves to the inside corner, but he moves behind the batter. His glove was behind the batter, and I'm like in the middle of my windup going, he wants me to throw this through this guy? And I just threw it right to his glove and kind of jumped out of the way. And I'm like, all right, I hit the target. And, and now that was a setup for the next couple pitches being on the outside corner and getting him out.
I'm in the bullpen, and I think they're just getting me warmed up. Well, all of a sudden, they send me out to get an inning in. So, and at the time, it was Carcovise. So I'm like, oh, good, I'm throwing to Carcovise. I don't want to have that pressure of throwing to Pudge, Well, then they bring in Pudge. So now it's me throwing to Pudge. And my first pitch had to be about 55 feet. It hit the dirt cutout, skipped up, and he caught it, and he kind of looks at me, and he throws the ball back. He goes, hey, this much farther. And that's all he said. But that was enough to go, okay, let me relax and start throwing.
I remember one in particular. It was in Old Comiskey, and it's one of those kind of games where you go out there, nothing's right. Delivery feels like crap. I skated through the first inning, maybe bases loaded. They didn't score, but could have blown it open. Then I go out there for the second inning, same thing. And I came in, and I'm sitting on the bench right there by the bat rack, and he's sitting beside me. And I'm just bitching, pissed off the mound, blaming the umpire. I'm just unprofessional. He just backhands me in the middle of my chest. And he said, you need to get your head out of your ass and get your butt on the mound and pitch your ass off because we need you tonight. Well, I went out there, and I think I put up 4 zeros right after that.
My ball would move a lot, and I with those sinkers, if I threw it towards his mitt, which he set up inside, it would be ball 1, ball 2. Well, he finally got tired of it after a while, and he walked out to the mound with his mask up on the top of his hard hat like he always does. And when he got right to me, I'm waiting for these words of wisdom, and he smoked me right in the chest. And I went, and he said, just throw it over the middle of the plate. And I looked at him, I said, yes, sir. And he turned around and walked off. Then it clicked. I'm like, well, that makes sense. Throw it at the middle, and it's going to end up where he's sitting up. So it took him doing that to finally help me figure out how I was going to pitch.
He was one of my favorite players, when I was a fan. And then to get to the major leagues and to get to play and pitch to him, I was like, oh, my God. But I was nervous pitching to him. And I'll never forget the first time I did pitch to him. We're playing Oakland, and Canseco was up. And I hadn't even really talked to him much yet. It's like the second game or something there. I haven't really talked to him much. He doesn't know what my pitches are really. So I'm out there pitching to him, and he's like, he's putting down the signs, and he knows what the hitters are looking for, but he doesn't know what my strengths are necessarily. So I'm thinking, do I shake him off? I'm thinking I can't shake him off, So anyway, I'm pitching Canseco, and he calls for a fastball inside because he wanted me to throw inside fastballs. All right, so I throw this fastball into Canseco, and he hits a rocket, upper deck, home run, but fouled by about 3 feet. Just about ripped out one of the wooden chairs in the upper deck over there. And after the game, he came up to me in the locker room and said, hey, when I want a fastball in, get it in there. And he pounded my chest like this. He goes, get it in there, get it in there. And I'm like, yes, sir, okay.
In my memory, I never shook Pudge off, ever.
It was 1990 when I shook him off for the first time. So it was a 2-1 count, and he called a fastball, and I shook to go to my split. And, I hadn't been throwing splits behind in the count. And I said, okay, I'm feeling really good with this. Let's start doing this. So I can throw a 2-1 split or a 3-1 split over for strikes. And so I remember he just goes, hey, tell me why you shook me there. And we talked about it. It was funny. That was the first time I ever shook him off, and that was 2.5 years of pitching to him.
Playing the Brewers in Old Comiskey, facing Robin Yount. I'm thinking, okay, this guy's, future Hall of Famer. This guy's a stud hitter. I got to go with my best stuff. My strength is a forkball, split finger and forkball. That's what I was getting people out with. Fastball is like my least pitch to throw out there. I throw an 83-mile-an-hour fastball. I look in, first pitch. He puts down the sign, fastball in. All right, I'll throw the fastball in, throw it in, strike one. All right, so I'm thinking, all right, for sure, one fastball. We're going to go split finger now. I look in for the sign, fastball in again. I'm like, really? All right, I'll throw it one more time. Throw a fastball in, strike two. I'm like, 0-2 count. I'm thinking for sure now, we're going to go forkball. I kind of glanced in and I see fastball in again. I'm thinking to myself, you got to be kidding me. So I finally get the nerve enough to shake him off. And I look at him and I go, he looks at me back there and he goes, fastball in. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never had a catcher shake off my shake off before. I'm like, what the heck do I do? Throw a fastball inside, of course, breaks his bat, his little ground ball at third base. Because he's looking for the fork ball, so we jammed him inside. Now looking at Fisk behind home plate, he's looking back at me and he goes,
the first time I went up to talk to him, he turned and goes, what do you want? And I went, I'm here to talk to you. Why else would I be here at post game? And he just laughed. And I didn't take any offense to it because I knew it was an unusual situation for a lot of these players. And after that, we became very cordial to each other. He would talk to me all the time. There's times he would talk to me and another reporter would come to try to listen in and he would change the subject so they couldn't hear what he was saying to me. A lot of people think it was difficult, but I think he was just one of those players that was so into the game and so into what he did in every facet.
My seat was behind him on the plane. My locker was next to his, and for him to say, yeah, bring this kid over here, I'll help guide him. And I was very respectful and appreciative. I soaked it all up. And to see a guy catch for, 9 innings at 40-something years old, come in the locker room, grab a plate of food, put another plate on top of it, stash it in his locker, and then go in the weight room for an hour and a half, whatever it was, that's pretty inspiring, for a young kid.
Fisk taught that team what it took to be great. I think part of the reason why Frank was great is because they saw Fisk completely immersed in the preparation of the game. So erudite, so intelligent, so brilliant off the field, well-read. But what I learned from Pudge was a level of professionalism that was never matched again in the history of my career. And that's why I respect him so darn much.
Thank you.